is the zoom and wide. And you should be comfortable with the
Yeah.
tripod. You can also, you're not going to be able to go too far forward
You were my one hope,
with this cord.
then you failed me.
But you'll be able to go from side to side.
Okay. Now, am I giving you a call or are you giving me a call?
You're giving me a call.
Hello, Virginia. Tell me, what does Erin go dry mean? I don't know. God bless you. I have the shamrock up right behind me in my desk, and they're asking me, what does Erin go dry? I said, that's what I thought. You're on television now if you want to turn on a channel 35 minutes. Not directly, but they said that Michael was home just for the weekend from the fail-on, and then this is, and then he had to go back, I guess, Sunday, and he's supposed to be discharged Friday. This will be the third week he's in there. They said, she said they're not gonna put back the prosthesis. So that would mean you'd have to be on a crutch or cane. Sure. No. Well, she said, oh, really? Yes.
So,
Mr. Ward, how are you?
good. How about you?
I'm pretty good.
Where have you been?
You in Worcester?
Really? How come? Good, bad?
Good.
Good?
That's
I resigned for a while.
Ah,
I want to announce it.
good.
Oh, go ahead. So how's things down in the big city?
Confused.
Confused.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's starting to forge ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have it focused on?
But now that the war's over, you know where attention of all the press is going to
That's the
be.
thing, yeah, that's what they're gonna really have to be ready for now because
I get ready to start.
it was easy, huh?
But what do I
The last
tell
couple
them?
months,
I
they're struggling along and now
That's
they're gonna be looking for results.
Yes, I think that's probably a good
And
thing.
what's a thousand,
But it was,
and what's 1,000 wells?
You want to go check the sound out?
didn't look too good last night, but fooling around saying they're gonna call an in and then the deadline expired.
Oh, are you? Oh.
Behind you there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
we're about to bring you the selectmen meeting live. So we have a little trivia question tonight. For anyone who can tell us what Erin Go Bra means, write a postcard into Continental Cablevision and we'll pull the names out of a hat on St. Patrick's Day. And it's for
Sure.
a free t-shirt.
No, it's silly going on, the two of you.
For anyone out there who can tell us what Erin Go Bra means. And I hope I'm doing justice to the Gaelic language and pronouncing that right.
You'll find a job.
So we look forward to
But
your
he's usually
interview.
outside anyway.
Someone out there's got to know the answer. Clinton?
Oh, yeah.
Did Mary
I gotta
Bryan
get-
not
I
know
gotta
that?
get going.
She did?
She didn't know it
That's
was.
why she's on the phone. She called it.
Virginia, one night a few weeks ago, this lady.
That should be a headline, I think. I just know what I meant to. I'm not even Irish for Christ's sakes.
Smile.
It's something.
And I cursed out loud.
Cheers or
Like,
something.
Sorry.
Give the address again.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay. All right, Virginia, fine now.
What does it mean, Mary?
All right, we're looking forward to your postcards to
What is-
Continental
That's the trivia
Cablevision,
question.
26 William Street, Send a postcard, just don't call.
Jimmy wants some.
George.
How are you? I thought I was going solo.
Stick out with a new haircut.
Hey, George, you've been away a long time.
I know.
You even have curls.
Jenny,
Huh?
The hair's getting a little long.
that girl.
I heard you bumped into my roommate, Mr.
Yeah.
Curry, the other day.
It was a phone
I sure
call.
did.
That's good. I like your hair, Mary Rose. It's very nice. Nice and summery. Sure.
No, you call.
Oh,
I can't turn you back to this. I don't know where I put it. And it's-
So what's this? Gardener.
Did you know him before this?
Yeah.
Just from like,
Just for
Yeah.
moves
yeah.
and stuff like that.
it's too loud.
Shaking up and moving it all around. Who knows why?
So does he want to be here? Or?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Sorry.
Better commute. But they might be moving even more.
Do you think they'll move you out?
Wouldn't mind. I'd like to move to Westboro. Nice. Man, this is gonna be much different for that.
Huh?
Well, bored.
Something real.
Yeah. Especially. Yeah. It was good. But you know, even like, yeah, I imagine the way when it was when I started was similar to when you were there. Like when it was me and Barry and Deb. You know, things were a little bit.
Excuse me?
We should come and find out, because he has everything correspondence.
Hey, how are you, my boy? Haven't seen you for a long while. How you doing?
Pretty good, thanks.
How's everything? Everything is good. Good. How's Dad?
Dad's fine. Dad's fine. I haven't seen him.
Country?
Still
Look at the agendas, haven't you?
In God's country.
God's country.
You got it.
He likes it.
This is for later.
I
I haven't seen him in a while.
By the way, I
though.
have a tax
Correspondence.
expenditure analysis.
I'll tell you about the
Which one of you gentlemen?
I know. That's
Which one of you gentlemen are Peter?
I'm glad
Either of you Peter?
No.
Or you
That's
Dan?
7:15.
This man.
Oh, okay.
And this is also Ted Coleman from.
Oh, my
I mean, all this stuff worked the way it was supposed to.
No
How
faith
we
in me that I could
raised
get the
funds.
car in. Huh, Mary?
Well, John, you're getting awful close to mine.
How much they saved.
I'm glad
Getting
you started
credit
with
replaced it.
I didn't see
Not
it.
hiring a deputy publisher.
This thing there.
It's gonna be about $40,000 a year.
Say that with bricks.
And now they're renting to the banner. They got rid of the banner. They got rid of it. They got rid of all the production people.
Peter and Dan,
And Barbara, the person that's on that stuff, she's leaving, and they have to figure out.
Dan thinks he's rent, he has a class 2 out in front, he's leasing from Kayala, and Kayala is leasing from Jennings on our property. Kyle is coming in tonight.
She should. But I mean, Susan was telling me that she thinks when you have it over, it's like, you know, you're going from a daily to a weekly, so it's really not that much. You know, it's more like a lateral.
Yeah.
But we want you to do it. But
James?
it's a lateral.
There's $10 a week.
Yeah. So want to say, it's been 20 months just in this job. Finding his way out of the company.
Good evening, Mrs. Tosh.
Hi, Joe.
Good evening, everybody.
Tell me, won the tournament. Won the tournament. Yes, that's what I heard.
Wire service?
No, one of the guys came home. Hey, I don't know.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah, because they play all week.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Someone
Oh, yeah.
someone sold you a bridge to.
Probably. I hope there's no cracks in it. Be all right if I could resell it. I hit the mic.
Good, good. Good Worcester.
How's Worcester?
Worcester.
Everybody's sporting new dues. I said everybody's sporting new haircuts.
I don't.
You all ready? Jim, you all set? Jim? You all set?
Yeah.
Board will officially open its Wednesday night meeting, and the first order of business is the acceptance of the minutes of the previous meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman, I'll make a motion, we accept that we do away with the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting if found to be in order.
Do you have a second?
I accept.
All kinds of.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Board has a meeting with representatives from Tennessee Gas Pipeline. Gentlemen, like to come forward, or if you want to just sit from there. Tradition, Mr. Bates,
How do you
Mr.
do,
Ward,
Secretary?
Mr. Corner.
How do you do? My name's Harold Potter. I'm an attorney. My offices are in Boston at 1 Beacon Street, and I'm here on behalf of Tennessee Gas Pipeline Company. This is Ted Gorman, who is an employee of Tennessee Gas Pipeline Company, and who's here this evening to try to explain any of the details of the pipeline that
Why don't we just try to get you a few chairs, so.
How about just rolling into it?
Sure. We'll just pull those up there.
That's all
Great,
right.
thank you. Please.
No, he,
Microphone, they can. He's gonna take this off.
What we are requesting tonight is that an article be placed in the warrant for consideration by the town meeting to have the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to grant an easement to Tennessee Gas Pipeline Company over certain property that I will describe for you. Just to give you a little bit of background on Tennessee Gas Pipeline Company, it's a company that is an interstate transmission company, that is, transmits gas on an interstate basis, primarily from the Gulf, from Louisiana, from Texas, up into the northeastern states, but throughout other areas of the country. As it impacts on Massachusetts, it is the company that transmits most of the gas to the local distribution companies, including Boston Gas, which handles this particular area. In the early 50s, 1951, 50, 51, 52, built its primary mainline system throughout Massachusetts. There have been some changes since then, but the primary system was put in at that time. In the last few years, it has sought to upgrade the system in various ways so that they could deliver more gas on a firm basis to the local distribution companies, because as we all know, there has been a significant change in the need and in the populations in Massachusetts, so that a pipeline that was put in back in 1950 to 52 really won't accommodate the needs of people today. As it impacts on this area right here, the pipeline that we're talking about is a 4-inch pipeline, and it's already in the ground. Tennessee Gas has an easement over it. It's over town property, which I'll show it to you. And what it is seeking to do is to take the 4-inch line out and put an 8-inch line in. In order to do that and to meet all of the requirements it has in terms of maintaining it and so on, it needs an additional 10 foot of easement for a permanent easement, and it needs 25 feet of temporary easement as working space to do this work. So it would be, you have a 20-foot easement that they already have across this land. The pipe is in. They want 5 feet on either side as an additional permanent easement, and then they want 25 feet of working space while they go through this project.
Just while I go through?
While they go through, that's correct, and then that would just revert back. The process that Tennessee Gas or any company like it has to go through in order to have a project like this come to completion is fairly extensive. It's a heavily regulated industry. So before it can even consider any of this, it has to make a presentation to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in Washington, and there are hearings on it, and they set the lines and they tell you what you can do. And you have to get a certificate for telling you that you indeed can do it. Then it goes through, prior to that, there are siting council hearings and so on throughout the state, so that people have an opportunity to have input into what they're doing. Once they get the line certificated, and even before that, they begin the process of assuming that things are going to be granted, and they begin the process of trying to get voluntary easements from landowners and from towns, if there are town lands that are impacted. Now, as it relates to towns, we have to do one additional thing. We have to submit legislation to the state legislature, and that has been done. It has not yet been acted upon by the state legislature, to authorize the towns in the first instance to grant the easement. But in addition to that, then we have to come to the town and ask the town to submit to the town meeting about authorizing the Board of Selectmen to enter into an agreement with Tennessee Gas Pipeline Company. And what we would do this evening, if you approved, was allow the article to go into the warrant. Then Mr. Gorman would, between now and town meeting, hopefully try to work out an agreement with the town related to the terms of the easement itself. If then authorization is given and the easement, the agreement is signed, that agreement would have to be held in escrow until the state legislature is acted. But that's just the way that the system will work. Now, I have here a proposed article, and I also have a copy of the plan. Oh, I'm sorry, sure. This is the plan and the piece of town land that this pipeline will be crossing. And as you can see, the proposed pipeline would be down in the area of Water Street and Vale Street, and running almost parallel to the railroad track. That is where the current line is, and as I indicated, what they would be doing is taking out the line that is there and substituting an 8-inch line. And you can see from the little plot down in the left-hand corner where it says existing right-of-way, which is 20 feet. And what the new proposed right-of-way is an additional 5 feet on each side, and then some temporary working space of 25 feet while they're doing the work, which
One side,
On one side, yes.
Sir, one question while we're going through this.
Sure.
Is the company willing to send a representative to the town meeting that night to have questions answered if somebody get up on the board?
Yes, we will. Absolutely.
Yeah, you would be here, yeah, okay.
I think you realize, of course, that we would have to submit this article to town council to certainly review.
Yes, that would be fine. If there were any questions or any problems, we'd be happy to answer them. We would just like to want to get in time to put it in the warrant for the town meeting. We don't know currently what the timing is going to be on the whole thing because of all of the various entities that you have to go before, but
You must have a timetable set up somewhere.
Well, our bylaws state that our town meeting is to commence on the last Monday in April.
yes, that's it, that's what I thought. Now, what is the timing on the actual project that is planned?
It could, if we can get everything together, it could be as early as this fall or next spring.
But it really depends upon the whole series of steps that has to be taken, and all of them have to fall in place. So
It's certainly needed. Increase the pressure on everything.
This is a question of fact. How many communities are you looking for easements in the state?
Can you,
I can just say quite a few,
Quite a few.
because it's not only communities, but it's also state lands that we cross. So at that level, we have to deal with different agencies within the state, but there's quite a few towns that presently own land, mainly because of the open space laws that come about. Because of,
Do you get on a private land too?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Most of it is private land with that, and the process that is followed with private landowners, once again, is we try to work out a voluntary agreement with them. In the event that that doesn't work out, then Tennessee Gas as a pipeline company has certain rights to eminent domain, even though the Department of Public Utilities. But the preference is always to try to work out an agreement that they can, preferable for our folks.
I certainly don't have any problem.
I just have a couple questions. This line that's on the map here, is that the only portion that's going to be upgraded?
No. The entire project runs from Bolton through Lancaster and terminates in Clinton. And the total project is 3.55 miles.
This is a section
Right.
of a total picture. This is a defined project, but it's not the only thing going on.
Right, this is the only portion in Clinton though, from Water Street to...
No, it's in the town of Clinton, okay, we traverse approximately 1.5 miles. Okay, and this, what you're looking at there is only a piece of property that is owned by the town of Clinton.
Oh, okay. So this is the only town property?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, our
Yes.
facility terminates at the foot of the hill on Barrett
So
Street.
you have to engage in this type of situation with every landowner along the way?
That's right. The representatives of the company go out and talk to the individuals, and then as to any property that's publicly owned, we have to go to the municipality or the state.
And
What are you saying, Mike? Good luck to
No, that's interesting. Now, is your total project just an upgrade, or is there new construction going on through the state? I just remember I sat on the Regional Planning Commission, I know there was a lot of discussion.
A lot of this is
early
new
on.
construction.
Okay, because I thought when they were talking of the route of the project, it wasn't affecting Clinton, so it was interesting to see that it was, you're already in Clinton already, so
Yes.
that's why I think they were talking about the new line that was going in, so.
Yeah.
It's usually easier when you come in and talking to people about something we already
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
The new constructions, people.
No, that's good, thank you.
No, I'm a little familiar with the lines, so I don't, no question.
Well, we will be in touch with you people.
Okay.
And we thank you for coming in and going over the information with us.
Okay.
If you have a card that you could leave, and our administrative
Yeah.
assistant could.
Yes, I do. Who is town council and?
William Conley.
William Conley.
Richard Montori is our administrative assistant.
Okay. I spoke with Richard earlier.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Last Monday, 7:30.
That's a good thing. That's why a lot of people against it, because they're looking at
Our pressure.
it's awful. Good thing for a lot of people that own the land that
Yes.
want to buy.
Mrs. O'Brien? Did you say Peter was coming in tonight, or the?
7:15.
Is Peter here? You're Peter? Yeah. Peter wants to come in, please?
Gas just went out there.
Was Dan coming in at the same time?
No.
Peter, you are now in business at 291
Berlin Street,
Berlin
yes.
Street. The reason why I think the board, or the reason why the board has asked to have you people in, we have, I think for the most part, all of us have gone over there and so have seen that piece of property. And there seems to be quite an assortment of unoperable vehicles in behind that building that just seem to be just actually stored on top of one another. Some without engines and obviously things that I guess you could categorize it as just junk vehicles. And I think Mr. Bates and I have seen several individuals come in and go in and out of business at that particular address, 291 Berlin Street. And along the way, we have seen this situation continue to get worse. And it's gotten to the point where we have to address the problem to find out who is responsible for those vehicles and how we're going to get that place cleaned up. It's really a disgrace. I mean, it's a neighborhood, there are people that live in that area, and it's certainly not getting any better. It's getting worse over there, so we have to address it, and obviously, being in business over there now, if you could shed some light on the situation over there for this board.
Well, right now, I only have about five or six vehicles there. Certainly, there are none with no motors in them. There's a plow there that I use to plow the yard. I have a sideline business of restoring old pickups, and I have two of those there. There's another pickup that I use in my business. It's it's an inspected vehicle. And there's only one other vehicle there that I use for storage, a van. And there's a Cadillac I was going to restore, but that's going to be soon leaving the property. But other than that, there's some other, construction materials that I use from time to time. I had a couple subletting out to another guy that was running a repair business, and he had some vehicles down there. He was changing motors. Maybe this is what you saw, but he's since left. And the place, I think, has been cleaner than it's been in a long time.
Well, I don't think we're concerned in the front part of the establishment. It's behind.
It's to the side.
To
Over
the
on the
side.
side. I mean, it's. I know,
You
John,
can see
you
them
mentioned
off
of
the
it
road
last
there
week.
now with the, in the summertime, they'll probably cover over with foliage, but now they're really out there. You can really see them going by there. if you're looking at the garage, this would be to the right.
Do you own this property, Tim?
No, the Jennings still own it. I have a long-term lease there.
Didn't you originally come from Berlin?
Yes, the old camp plant.
And you finished, you would finish in furniture and stuff.
Yeah, back then I was. I don't really do that anymore. I mainly work on the road inside people's houses. And like I said, I have the sideline business of redoing old Chevy pickups.
But you have no license for all those cars up there, right? And trucks?
What type of license do I need for that? A lot, you know, like I said, a few of them I use for my business.
They're not registered.
Well, I have a repair plate.
You do have a repair plate?
Yes, I do.
At that address,
Yes, I do.
but no license?
Yeah, I did come in when I first moved in and got a license.
Class 2, you never issued a Class 2 license.
I'm not sure what it was at the time.
Used car dealer's license, right there.
I got
I believe you do.
I got the repair plate later on, so I was, you know, unaware if I needed another license for that.
It certainly hasn't been renewed for a long, long while, has it, Mary?
Remember issuing this Class 2 license to you, Peter?
I'm not sure what type of license it
How
was.
could you
That's
have got
for
a used
selling
car
used
license at the
cars.
same address that this
No,
green sign
I don't
is?
have a used car license.
That's the license that we're talking
No,
about.
I don't have a used car license, no. I don't sell used cars.
Well, you just
I got
picked
this
them up.
I got a repair plate because I restore these old pickups. I do about one a year.
So there's actually two businesses out of that same
Right,
address.
I have a long-term lease, and under my lease agreement with the Jennings, I'm able to sublet.
To
This-
Dan.
To Dan, right, at this time. That's how I can afford to stay there.
Well, this board, I think, has to get some kind of satisfaction as to who was responsible for those vehicles that are,
Well, the vehicles behind the paved area are mine.
no, we're talking about the junk in the back. I mean, that is getting worse all the time. And if there's two active businesses on that, at 291 Berlin Street, someone has to be responsible for those abandoned vehicles in the back.
I don't know if you're talking about my property or the Yerkinens behind me.
The who?
The Yerkinens. Phoebe Yerkinen.
Used to run it one time.
He originally built the place, yes.
And then you sold to Jennings, but retained the house in the back, and you since Jake, and he since has died.
Recently.
Yeah.
Well, this junk has been getting worse than
Oh,
that. It's not like
absolutely,
that
but it
junk's
wasn't
been sitting
Jake's.
there for 20 years.
That's what I'm
It's-
saying, it certainly wasn't Jake's, he was in no condition to have anything up there to put, right? If you're the leasee, it's up to you.
Well, I'm unaware that I was breaking the law here, so, you know, let me know what I have to do or what the law is, and I'll rectify the situation.
Well, I don't think it's really a
Yeah.
case of breaking the law. It's just, Peter, it's been brought to our attention. We've all gone over and we've looked at it. And again, we have no complaints about the front of the establishment. When you're riding by, it's obvious that it's becoming a mini junkyard over there. There are vehicles that are never going to be sold for anything because you can't even operate them. Half of them are just pieces of old vehicles. And they're just sitting there, and every time you go back, there's something else parked over there, or
Well,
there were skids, there were wood skids over there was stuff that was thrown out. I guess basically what we're asking is for someone to clean up the place, is what we're asking.
When I first moved in, there were many more. I was, letting some people store things there, and then, I got somebody had talked to me and asked, if I'd clean it up, and I did since then. But whatever's there now is things that I need to restore these vehicles and other lumber and so on that I use on jobs that I do. I don't know if, anybody's been up there recently, but, I have been, some of these things I am trying to sell actively right now. But there's only, one vehicle that I was using a few years ago that I do need some certain parts off it for this particular vehicle that I'm restoring right now. There's nothing that's really been idle there for that long. So, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, all I'm saying to you is clean it up. We don't care how, we don't care what you do, but if you haven't got a license to sell cars again,
I don't sell cars.
you just said you're fixing one up to sell.
No, I just restore them
Well, then
for
what?
other people.
Then what?
I don't sell them.
What
I
do you
don't,
do
sell, I
with
don't
it?
sell vehicles.
What do you do with it after you restore it?
I do it for other people, or I'll do one for myself.
Well, then I suggest you do it somewhere else for other people. You can't do it there without a license, and you can't leave it in the condition it's in, as far as I'm concerned. These people know it, Greenstein, it isn't fair to him, it isn't fair to the neighbors, it isn't fair to anybody. And you know full well, coming from Berlin, you know full well what I'm talking about. Right?
Peter, can you make an honest effort to clean that area up in the back? I think you know what we're talking about. That's really what we want to see happen. I think I speak for the board. I think if you just cooperate with this and make the effort to clean that back area up, I think we owe it to the people that live all in that area. We certainly would appreciate it.
It's been going on for, what, 2 years? Every time we call this guy in, he says it's somebody else. And that went on for I don't know how long.
Well, it's nothing to do with Dan. He's been a good tenant.
He's a good person,
Yeah.
but it's not helping him to have that stuff out there.
I'm trying to make a living here too, and it's not very easy. And every time I turn around, I'm getting squeezed and squeezed, and I'm ready to call the quits. I hate to do it to the Jennings.
Well, I hate to see you do it to the Jennings.
Well, it seems like every time I turn around in my business, there's more and more restrictions on me.
Well, no one's trying to restrict, I don't think.
Well, it's
this board
not
is
you.
trying to restrict
No, it's
this
not
board. I
you.
think
It's
we're
it's
just-
the state in general and the business that I'm.
We see a situation, Peter, and we're just trying to address it. And all we're asking for, and I don't think it's,
I
I
mean,
don't think
I
the board is.
refaced the front of that building
Yeah.
myself, and I paid, that was out of my pocket, and I don't own the property. I'm just doing the best I can here. You know,
I mean, we have-
I try to keep the place as
Yeah.
clean as I can.
We have,
Well, but
we're not,
My
we're
business
not,
requires many vehicles.
you haven't got a license for many vehicles. Don't you understand? You're breaking every law in the book.
What kind of license do I need?
A junk license, probably. And junk license, a junkyard has to be fenced in. You have to have hearings. You never did that.
Well, most of the vehicles down there are inspected vehicles that I drive on the road. I have four
Vehicles I
vehicles.
seen wouldn't drive on the road.
No, there's a couple down
You
there.
must have seen them.
I don't know if you're
There's
talking
three,
about the
there's
same
three
place
vehicles
we're
down
talking
there that I
about.
don't drive on the road. There's 3 vehicles. I don't drive on the road.
The vehicles I seen, you couldn't even push on the road, never mind drive.
And one's a plow that I plow my yard with. I don't drive that on the road. I just plow the yard with it. That's Jennings' old vehicle.
Yeah. You gotta clean it up, that's all.
Do what I could do. What if I put up a fence?
Fence to what? Just to create a junkyard? You can't do that. You have to have a license to run a junkyard. And I don't think there's area in that
There
where
isn't
your
enough room.
establishment is to have that.
You
We're
couldn't get
asking
it
you,
from the
Peter,
neighbors
there
anyway.
are abandoned vehicles in the back of that establishment. They're getting worse, it looks terrible, we've had complaints from neighbors. It's our responsibility to address those complaints. We are asking you very nicely to clean up the place. I don't think we're asking you anything out of line. We're looking for some cooperation from you. And that's what we're asking. I mean, we'll give you time to clean it up. We're just asking you to cooperate with this board.
So we have to also enforce these town bylaws in Clinton, which restricts the number of unregistered vehicles that you can have on property.
Even on commercial property?
I don't know what the number is, but
You'd have to have a license for those vehicles.
Which would determine how many vehicles you can have
How
on
do I
that
go about
license.
doing that?
You'd have to fill out an application.
For a junkyard.
Well, you couldn't have two class 2 licenses at the same address.
No, you can't,
No.
first of all, yeah. so
What
that-
is a class 2? Just,
Used
Used
car
cars.
license.
Car. Which
How
you
about a
can't,
repair?
Like Dan.
how about a repair?
We don't give any repair, like, there's no license we have to repair those.
You don't need a
Up to the
license to
board.
repair cars. You don't.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm
You go on, you
restoring,
got repair plates, you said.
yes, I'm restoring these old Chevrolet pickups.
I don't think you need a license to repair, but the question is the storage of the unregistered vehicles in the back.
Right.
That's where the problem comes in.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting at.
It's vehicles up there, by your own admission, you said you use for parts,
Yep.
right? So that classifies it, as I see it, as a junkyard, and you need a junk license. Junkyard license, which you couldn't qualify for. Number one, you don't have the room. Number two, you'd have all kinds of abutters problems. And number three, you're
No,
not
no, I
zoned.
don't want to start a junkyard. Don't get me wrong.
If they're junk cars and they're not registered, then it's a junkyard, right? I mean, there's no other way out.
Well, you know, There's two or three of them that are under repair. What do I do with them? Where do I put them until I want to repair them?
Peter, I really don't know if you're talking about the same cars we are.
What's the
I've been
matter
up
with inside
there.
the garage?
We've all been there. These cars, you couldn't repair them. I mean, they're junks. They're
Which one?
in behind your establishment. I mean, I don't know how many times we go. If I was facing towards that garage and I looked to the right,
Yep,
where the used cars are right out in front,
yep.
beyond that, there are junks that they're thrown on top of one another. There's old trucks, old abandoned trucks. Now,
They're-
don't look at me like
There's nothing
I
thrown
don't
on
know what
top
I'm
of
talking
them.
about, because I've been over there. I go by that establishment every single day, back and forth from work. And I went over with Mr. McNamara, and I went over one Saturday morning and looked at the place. I know that all of us have commented on the establishment. I think we even have pictures of it. So, don't look at me like I don't,
Well, I'd like to see
like
these
I'm talking
pictures.
about, you know,
Because, like I
used
said,
cars
I have,
that you can operate, because they're not. John, have you been by there?
Yes.
Have you, Mike? Are there cars that look like they have been there for a while with no motors, no engine?
Absolutely. Where are those pictures?
Did Richie go upstairs again?
Maybe he's gone up to get
I mean, you can see them. Do you have any room inside the
Do you know
garage?
what we're talking about?
Why don't you have,
I'm in the process of restoring one right now. We disassemble them and put them back together inside the shop. And Dan uses two of the other bays. So all I have is that one bay that goes towards the back.
Selectman's office.
I don't know. But I do know something's gotta happen.
30, number 30. 30, yes, all right. Number, on table,
I'd like to address another problem. We're having a water problem in the front of that building due to the fact of when those other two trailers were put in. The guy next to me, I guess Jennings, dug a trench where they had plowed up the two roads to go in there. And Jenny dug a little trench through there to let the water flow away from the shop. And the guy next to me, I don't recall his name right now, but he ended up blocking it up. And when I went to dig it up, he called the cops. Now we have water coming in our shop. And, it's frustrating to Dan to have water coming into his 2 bays. And since then, he's had the highway department coming down saying that he wanted to build an additional barrier so that we have more water coming into our shop, which I don't think is fair. Now, I don't know whose problem this is, but, it's becoming more and more of a problem. I've had the front paved, tried to bring the front of the shop up a little so that the water won't go in. But we get a huge puddle in front of that shop.
Well, certainly, it's the first we've heard of it. Certainly, we would talk to the superintendent to see what the situation is.
I would appreciate that.
Richie, did you hear what he was talking about, water?
Do you have a picture?
There's a picture, but I really will show.
Yes, it looks,
Just showing us.
yeah.
Yeah, show where it is.
So Peter,
Well, there's certainly no cars stacked on top of each other, so there's no cars with no motors down there
in the back?
in the back. I have one cab from a Chevy truck that's loose. I have another part of the front end that I've recently sold the motor on. So that, yes, that's junk. I ended up redoing the plow that I had. So yeah, there is some old metal there. But I've made several trips of metal out of there in the past couple of years. Up to the 117 salvage and so on. There's probably 2 vehicles there that are really junk vehicles. Maybe you were down there when this repair guy was down there. He had several vehicles down there. He was changing motors on several vehicles. But I'm trying to keep it to a minimum. And,
Did you sublease that to the person before, Dan? Have you been subleased?
yes, yeah.
So,
I've been there for a few years now, I think, and I've got a 10-year lease.
so along the way, you subleased other people.
Right. That's part of my agreement with the Jennings.
So if I go over there after this meeting is over, I won't find any abandoned vehicles, is what you're telling me?
I didn't say that. Depends what you classify as abandoned. Like I said, I have...
Abandoned meaning that I couldn't get in it, started up and run it, and it's probably been sitting there for a while.
There's probably 3 of those vehicles there, yeah.
You just said 2 minutes ago that there wasn't any.
No, I didn't. So there's 3 vehicles that would be considered, there's 2 vehicles that would probably be considered junk. One is a Cadillac that I was in the process of restoring, which is on hold right now. 73 Cadillac Eldorado.
The only thing I have to say to the board, and I guess to Peter now, is that I would ask Peter to clean it up. And I'm personally going to take a ride over there myself, again tonight, to look at it and see if there's any abandoned, what I consider to be vehicles that are not able to, I couldn't operate them or anybody in this board could operate them. Because I can't believe that you're telling us, I mean, the same place that I'm talking about, Mr. Bates is talking about, and Mr. Ward and Mr. Coyne, and you're saying there aren't any vehicles there that are abandoned.
I said there's 3 you could not get in and start. If you
And
want to
we're
call
ask-
those junk, they're
Well,
junk.
what we're asking you is to clean up the place. If you can't use those cars anymore.
There's a value and a use for each one of those vehicles there, to me.
But you still don't have a license. So you're only eligible to have one unregistered vehicle. That's the way the bylaw reads.
For a repair business?
Yes. If someone came in here and they asked for a second-class car license, which in fact gives them the opportunity to buy cars and to fix up cars and sell them, that's how we determine how many vehicles they can have. When you say repair, what do you, you're just talking about taking these cars, you fix them up, and you're gonna sell it, right?
No.
You don't sell
No,
any
I
of these
use
cars?
the ones that are there, I use for parts. On the other ones that I do for other people.
In other words, it's a junkyard, right?
It's one or the other, Peter. Either you are repairing these to sell them, or you're creating, as Mr. Bates said, a junkyard. It's one or the other.
So, there's 2 or 3 that I'll get rid of.
Well, that's all we're asking.
We're
That's all
asking.
we've been asking for half an hour.
You know, it's just some parts that I need on these vehicles, so I'll just take the parts I want and I'll just get rid of the rest.
Why don't we move it along? I think Peter's getting the point now. What we've,
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can.
Well,
I mean,
we
I
hope
thought
you-
I was doing a better job than when the Jennings were there. I mean,
No, no.
I'm not trying to-
No, the Jennings kept it real clean, everything picked up neat. No. They,
Peter, just please try to clean the place
Yeah,
up.
that's
And we're gonna
correct.
keep an eye on it, and hopefully, we won't have to ask you to come in again to clean the place up, that you'll do it on your own. I would appreciate it. Okay?
okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Rich, questions and comments?
Where's Dan?
Questions or
Dan
comments?
coming in?
No, I just said that, I just wanted you to remember that he got his license like in front of his car is fine.
He's on
it's
the
not
other side.
green sign, it's
No,
this.
that's what I wanted, to just be sure that you knew that.
We have some requests for gas openings. 111 Beach Street, 71 Pearl, 743 Main, 40 Walnut, and 440 Water Street. It's a pleasure to do it.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I'll second those.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. We have a request for late night closings for Saturday night for the month of March from Jack's.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Mr. Chairman?
Use it, John.
Yeah, that was on the engineering, that follows this. This is a request for renewal of the rising homes junk.
It's Jimmy's signature. And to just okay the certified release.
We've got to approve this first. Madam Chairman, I make the motion that we renew the following as certified wares for the town of Clinton for the year 1991 for the William Reisner Corporation of 33 Elm Street, Harold H. Reisner, Elizabeth H. Beverella, J. Lee Plank, William Beck, Kenneth Gallant, William Grady, Dwayne Greeno, and Brian Mackey.
You want a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Their wares they use in the yard down there. Approved by the town.
You waited, John.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. I'm requesting
Public hearing. petition to lay, this is doing the telephone requesting to lay cable on the ground.
Where,
On Lancaster Road, the Bolton Road, part of Lancaster Road. I've set up a public hearing, for the next Wednesday night. We notified all the butters.
Not until after the hearing.
No, it's not there. Sean's working out the hearing next week.
It's just the information.
So I'll make copies of that for all the board members, but just to let them know that there's a hearing, public hearing next week on the telephone petition to lay.
Recommend that.
As far as the packet goes, so we, a lot of information is from today, the board to review, take out for the next meeting. Again, like the past couple of weeks, it's mostly informational. The board to review, and if there are any questions, let me know, we can discuss anything at the next meeting.
is it all in here?
Yeah, it's all in the packet.
All in here.
Nothing to add.
I'd like to read one part in here, Richie, on my own. It's from the City of Somerville, Secretary from Mayor Michael E. Capone. According to the Department of Revenue, your community is one of the most needy in Massachusetts. Just like my city of Somerville, I base this conclusion on the fact that your community's reliance on state revenue shared during fiscal 1990 was in the top 20% in Massachusetts, which is quite a bit of money. And if we get whammy, we all might move home, back home again, stay. What do you hear on that down there, anything? Michael, nothing?
No, not yet.
They killed that other tax today?
Not before I left, they had it.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be.
sent it to 36 to 13 or something. 36 to 13 they defeated.
The past couple of weeks, we've been discussing trucking problem in the Sterling Street area. Paramount Trucking, I'm wondering how we can get in touch with them.
You say Sterling Street? You mean,
Flag Street.
Flag Street, right? Flag Street there.
it's still there.
Yeah, the trucks are there, we got Superintendent Gilmore and myself went down there because Mr. Gilmore remembered going into a building and seeing an office in Paramount Trucking, which he was right, we went down there, and there is an office, it's a one-man office. They do mostly shipping out of there, 4 trucks a day. And I went down, I told them there were complaints, there are problems with the trucks, not only the routes that the trucks are driving on, but also the idling at night. And the gentleman I talked to seemed to be cooperative, and I told the board to be in touch with him, to command him to set some rules and regulations for him on how where his truck's supposed to, what routes they're supposed to take, probably the hours they're gonna be restricted to, and any idling at night. So I was well aware of complaints, and in a couple of weeks, when I call him in and meet him, and set the rules down, similar to what's been done with Ames.
Who they hauling for?
Paramount Trucking is just a trucking company out of North Carolina, and they haul for a plastics company out of here.
Which plastic?
I don't forget the name off the top of my head.
Kelly handle?
No. So they do just, like I said, 4 runs a day, 4 round trips. And the trucks don't stay on, they're in and out. And, that's basically what he told me the business is. He was aware of complaints of the idling at night. He did talk to some of the residents. He said that was once in a while that would happen because an overnight, a truck came in for overnight that had food that needed refrigeration to run. He said that is a I did tell him to work with lights, the trucks were going up by the hospital, and that's not the route they're supposed to be taking. And he wasn't aware of that because there aren't any truck signs, and I would ask the board to consider probably putting truck route signs up, and finding out how to go about that, so the truckers that are using the area, don't cut over the hospital roads. And that's all I ask. Nothing else in the packet.
John, do you have any? Right? Jim?
Tonight, anyway.
Anything under old business? No business? Gary, do you have anything?
I'm sorry.
What's the pleasure of the board?
That, Richard, did I mention to you about that, I spoke to you, John, about Martha West had come in here yesterday on 336 Berlin Street, and we had issued a license to Chris Brandt at her former garage there, you know, which the address he gave us was 336 Berlin Street, which is her home address, Martha West. And the address of the garage is supposed to be 314 Berlin Street. So Kevin West came in a few weeks ago complaining about that too, and I changed the address to 314 on our copy of his license. But he still refuses to remove the 336 from his mailbox. And she keeps getting all his, like, you know, third class mail and all that, and she doesn't know why he insists on using her number of her house.
Could we just send a
But,
letter
she
stating
has
that
an
the
attorney.
license was issued to him incorrectly, the incorrect address, and that in fact the license is for?
But he would have to use that 314.
Just send a little letter. That's it.
That's all.
It's the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, at 7:55, I make a motion that we adjourn if there's no further business.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
It's unanimous. So George, where are you working on, Bristol now?
Clinton, back Clinton,
Oh, you got,
Are you?
Yeah, we
is
got-
Ellen gone now?
Ellen's in Pittsburgh, yeah, there's a new guy, Tom Wharton, new gardener. He's gonna be in and out of Pittsburgh with Ellen this month. And he's gonna go to Worcester following month, but then he'll be here for the remainder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nearing the weekend.
You know, good tips.
Peter's last
Restoration.
Yeah, restoration.
You like that? Did you play for
Yeah. Okay.
Huh?
I think I know what you mean. Well,
She's stubborn or what?
they're already here.
That's why I don't get
My chair's not even cold yet.
The people
They
who
move
snuck
quick.
that
No,
furniture.
they're
Need
very,
the rails.
because we're the bottom, there's nobody to bring
They
it
told
up.
them.
Yeah.
They're getting lower than a reporter.
So when are you leaving,
Next Thursday is my last day, and then April 1st, I start calling New York.
You're gone in New York?
Uh-huh.
Congratulations.
Good
Tell
boy,
John where
good
you're
job.
going. Tell John where you're going. Wall Street.
Alright,
Well, a little bit, lots away from Wall Street.
Just see him pop up.
Send us
Wall Street.
keep us informed.
Okay, you wanna pack up?
I have to watch that Insider.
All this stuff goes in the, yeah, let's make sure we label this tape down.
Night, everybody.
Good night, Judge.
Seeing you again,
So I
George.
wanna see in a federal
Yeah.
prison or something.
Well, they went through this big thing with us about, you know, you're basically not allowed to own a stock for less than 6 months. Not that I was deep in the market or anything like that, but I guess they're worried that people would do like short-term trading and try and, like, basically you find out